Om Namah Shivaya. Episode 86, Chapter 15, verses 3 to 5. The real nature of samsara and how to uproot it. The real nature of our life of samsara was described in detail, with Brahman as our roots above and our body-mind senses as the branches and leaves below. When we analyze our life of samsara, we understand that our body-mind senses is mithya, has no existence without Brahman. Therefore, truly we are Atma Brahman. This is true for any object under Prakriti. Take space, for example. The concept of space is established only with reference to the ceiling or floor. Thus, Atma, Brahman, the pure consciousness, is the only truth of our life of samsara. Here, consciousness is referred as our primary root of our life of samsara, tattvas 1 to 5. Everything else under Prakriti, including our body-mind senses, tattvas 13 to 36, is mithya, is a superimposition upon Brahman. In verse 3, Shri Krishna says, first, its form, as it is seen here as an imperishable Ashwatha tree, is not as it is perceived. Na rupam asya iha tata upalapyate. This can be viewed from two ways. From Param Atma standpoint, Tattva 1 to 5 is the only truth, Satyam. Brahman is the cause, which is the Atma in all, who is Ishvara, the creator. The creation is purely a projection, and upon inquiry, all name and forms resolves back into Brahman. But from the empirical standpoint, tattvas 13 to 36, the entire creation, including our body-mind senses, our knowledge, our ignorance, our delusion, our anger, our sorrow, our hunger, etc., are all possible only when we look at our life of samsara from the Prakriti standpoint. Second, further, our life of samsara has no beginning, no end, and no continuance. Nurture adir, na antar, nurture sampratishta. The connection between Ishvara and the creation is a superimposition, just like mistaking a rope for a snake. In the same manner, due to our ignorance, one, we fail to see that Brahman is the cause and our life of samsara is the effect. Our life of samsara has its existence in Atma Brahman. Therefore, our life of samsara on its own has no beginning, no end, and no continuance. 2. We fail to see that the nature of Prakriti is such that it perishes as it is seen. Even as we are seeing, things keep changing. This further proves that our life of samsara has no beginning, no end, and no continuance. Due to our ignorance, we see there are many jivas, each one different from the other. And our life of samsara becomes the cause of our fear. Our life of samsara is a pair of opposites, birth and death, health and disease, gain and loss, etc. Third, Sri Krishna says, to remove our ignorance, we must gain the knowledge of Brahman, to know that truly we are Satchit Ananda Atma and not this life of samsara. This is what is meant by cutting down this Ashwatha tree. Chitva enam asvatam. Then we must uproot our secondary roots that are well entrenched. Suviruddha Moolam. These secondary roots represents our attachments in the external world, like our family, friends, wealth, pleasure, fame, etc. Until the knowledge of Brahman is converted to wisdom, we cannot stay free from our desires and attachments. So until then, with a firm weapon of detachment, Dhrithena Asanga Sastrena, we must do all our duties as an offering to the law of Dharma for the purification of our minds and meditate to steady our minds. Once our minds are purified and steadied, we must convert ourselves to jignasus and be committed to gain the knowledge and wisdom of Brahman. Jnana Vijnana Yoga. In verse 4, Sri Krishna continues, gaining Jnana Vijnana Yoga liberates, ends our life of samsara. First, for this we must know our primary root. The Mahavakya Tattvamasi, we are that we are Brahman. Brahman has to be properly inquired into, parimagitavyam, to know from whom this ancient creation has come about. Yata pravritti prasrita purani. By living a life of a jignasu, we commit ourselves to inquire into the knowledge of Brahman that liberates. For this, we need the help of the Shastra, a qualified teacher, and Ishvara's grace. Our commitment must be firm, dhrita, and by repeated attempts, abhyasa, we learn to discriminate between what is real and what is unreal, Atma, Anatma. To understand that truly we are Satchit Ananda Atma and not this body, mind, senses. This alone is moving away from samsara. Second, after that, with the right attitude, we must surrender to that end. Tata padam tat prapatye, to Brahman, to the Adi Purusha alone, who is the beginning. Tam evacha adyam purusham. Then we will discover that Satyam, the truth, Jnanam, all-knowing, Anantam, eternal Brahma, is our innermost self, Pratyak Atma. Then the end, Brahman, is achieved. Once we are established with this attitude, means our life of samsara has ended through knowledge that Prakriti has no existence without Purusha. Third, then that end, Adi Purusha, into which those who have gone, Yasmin Gata, do not return again to a life of samsara. Na nivartanti bhuya. Once we have identified ourselves as Brahman, there is no returning to a life of samsara. We continue living in freedom, moksha, until our prarabdha karmas gets fully exhausted. then we drop our physical body and we have no future births. In verse 5, Sri Krishna says, to surrender to that Adi Purusha, Brahman, we must have certain qualification that was listed in chapter 13 and elsewhere. Here, some of these qualifications are re-emphasized to show its importance. First, we must be nirmana moha, free from mana and moha. Mana means we do not demand respect from others. The reason why we demand respect from others is maybe we cannot bear the criticism of others, even if we have the qualification that are worthy of respect, or we do not have a relative sense of self-worth. To overcome these, we must do self-analysis to heal our damaged self-image. Finally, when the knowledge of Brahman is converted to wisdom, we see that Atma is the truth of everyone. And that being so, who is to demand respect from whom? There is no one to compare ourselves with, and there is nothing to prove to ourselves or to anyone. And moha means superimposing a false value upon objects and situations that it does not have, that will eventually disappoint us, like thinking wealth is happiness. Only upon inquiry into Atma and Anatma, and when this is converted to wisdom, we discover that we exist in Atma. Atma is absolute bliss, and as Atma, we shine in our own nature. We are all-knowing, all-powerful. This wisdom frees us from demanding respect from others and not being deluded by false values. Second, we must be Jita Sangha doshas, having mastery over our attachments, infatuations, etc. By self-analysis and growth, as our attachments keep surfacing, we must inquire into them until we have the wisdom to see that all attachments are nothing but thoughts due to our particular way of looking at things. However, when we have the wisdom to see everything from Atma's standpoint, all attachments and infatuations dissolve, as we have gained mastery over them. Third, then we have outgrown all our desires, vinivritta karma. This outgrowing is real giving up, being real sannyasis. For this, our mind must be focused on the self, adhyatma nitya. It is more than a focus, like a lovelorn person dwelling upon Atma's glories, until we discover that Atma is Adi Purusha, Brahman. Fourth, then we are totally free from the opposites known as pleasure and suffering. Sukha dukkha sanjay dvandver. In all situations, our minds are composed and able to face facts as they are. As a result, we are free, vimukta, not deluded, amuda. We have reached that imperishable end. Tat avyayam padam gachanti. We are Sachit Ananda Atma Brahman. At verse 5, we shall take a break, and next Sri Krishna elaborates upon Brahman. Please like, subscribe, and share these episodes with your friends and loved ones. So till then, Om Namah Shivaya.